All right, I see people are starting to come in. I'll give people a few more minutes before we start this. So just a reminder, technically if you have issues with the embedded view, you can always open this in the actual application. There are a couple of, or there's one poll asking a question, so feel free to answer that. We'll get to that later. And as always, there's also a poll to enter question for the speakers, which I'll be monitoring together with the chat on the Pathable platform. And as mentioned before, we'll be starting shortly. Just to give people more time to filter in. About a minute or two after this is supposed to officially start. Okay. Once again, a reminder, there's a poll on the right side in the meeting where the chat is. So feel free to answer that question. And we'll be starting momentarily. Right. All right, I think that should be enough of a time. So hello and welcome everybody. Just a few technical things once again at the beginning. You can type your question into the chat or into the poll, questions for speaker. There's also another poll, so I'll remind you of it later. If you have any issues, write into the chat. I will be also monitoring if you are in the Zoom app, the Zoom chat as well. And also I'm monitoring the participant screen, so feel free to, there's some options like raising hands and stuff like that. And that I should give my attention. All right, so let's get started. This is what is the Meteor Community Package Group talk. First of all, shortly about me. My name is Jan Dvořák. I'm known as storyteller on the Meteor forums. Currently, I work with Pathable, and I have been with Meteor since end of 2014, beginning of 2015. That's where I really started using it heavily. I've been there ever since. And as the talk name suggests, I am with the Meteor packages or community packages group, and also with the Meteor Socialize packages. But that's for another talk at another time. So what I'll be covering is the history, what the heck this thing is, what's the organization, some of the packages, and maybe some of the future with this. So first of all, I would like you to kindly answer, please, the poll that we have on the Pathable platform. It's right next to the chat. And I'll wait a little bit. See how many people actually know what is Meteor Community Packages. Okay, so looks like majority of you know what this is all about, which is kind of strange. Why are you guys here if you know what this is all about? I guess probably want to know some dark secrets or something that you don't know. So I hope that I'll be able to oblige. So let's get started with history lesson. It's actually pretty short. It started shortly before the Meteor Community Survey last year in 2019. There's been a lot of talk about what the heck are we going to do with all the outdated packages or packages that are no longer maintained but are super important for the community. Uh, so those were things like collection 2, all the different routers, and all. I'll cover more of that later. And kind of came organically to the conclusion that probably the best solution would be creating some sort of a group that under which all these packages could be united and maintained, so that we can have new people coming in when the old one needs to leave and taking over managing the packages. And finally, or the next year after that, after all we have established that, we have the latest endeavor, which is Meteor Impact 2020. Between 2019 and 2020, we also had a newsletter that I am managing and a couple of other activities. And I would say we were pretty successful in starting the organization, getting the packages in, and establishing a process in order to maintain them. So let me move myself. So it's visible. That's better. So as mentioned, Meteor Community Packages is all about providing support and updates to important packages, mainly to prevent the abandonment. So we have a process which will allow new people to come in, maintain the packages. So we can choose, maintainers can rotate if they need to, because life happens. And at the same time have established processes to make sure that there's always somebody who can, add new maintainers, and that the process of publishing new versions is there available. Other thing is kind of to coordinate and support additional initiatives in the community like Meteor Impact, and kind of also we have, especially after acquisition, we had a great support from Meteor Software in supporting our activities and helping us with anything else we needed. Uh, Most notably, we have a group on GitHub. So that's where all these packages are. One big thing to notice about us is that there is no formal organization, there is no non-profit or for-profit organization. We are really it's just a loose, and the only thing that we kind of share is that logo and the name. Other than that, there is nothing else, and we have, let's say, distributed leadership where we have, let's say, leaders in different areas. So, for example, I'm in charge of the community newsletter that gets sent out occasionally, and then I have a couple of say packages that I take care of, that I help to maintain and try to jump where I'm needed. Same applies for other leaders. So as mentioned, GitHub organization is the main place where things are happening code-wise. We also active on forums, but that's usually as individuals. And then we have a community Slack that has became the, say, de facto Slack channel for the Meteor community. There are a couple of other places, but those are not could say recognized as kind of the official, or in this case, I think unofficial places where people gather for Meteor. It's usually very small groups, but that's for a talk tomorrow. Now, when it comes to packages, as for per the results that we got in the 2019 community survey, these are, you have some packages we focus on mostly around Blaze. There's some talk that we might take over Blaze completely, but autoforms are probably the biggest Blaze package that we have. There is a new major version upcoming, so if you use that, definitely check that out. We have taken over collection 2 from simple schema related, and also Meteor roles, which these three you could say are probably the biggest and most well known. Personally, package that I take care of are Meteor link accounts, which allows you to link multiple social media logins into under one user. So it's a super useful package. And then we have different router implementation for server-side rendering, and also we have forked from Cadera or for Meteor hacks the picker router, which is server-side router only. Another very populars are collection and method hooks. So that's the Meteor collection hooks and Meteor method hooks. And with that, going into the future, we hope that we can merge most of that functionality into core in some shape or another, so that these packages become obsolete. And from the other more well-known packages, probably the last one to mention is Publish Composite, which allows you to have kind of gather data from multiple Mongo collections, and then I'll put that together. So the different, so for example, if you have, say, have a list of stories, and in there you have authors, but you have the authors link the ID. So you use that to then pass, when you have the list of stories, you pass the user IDs to the next function underneath it, and that will then get the profile object for the authors of those stories, and it will all be published. It will publish the cursors to the client, so we can easily retrieve that data. And again, I am blocking the text here, so I'll get even smaller. Now, some of the newer projects are around TypeScript and compilers for the Meteor build system, but probably know some of them. I don't really know much about those, so I'll just skip those. Then we have some other less known packages that we'll be working on, mainly to upgrade them and kind of get them into the final stages. And finally, there are some, say, experimental projects that kind of ended up in our purview, specifically regarding, there's a project of like a new version of Atmosphere that you could do. But those projects are usually super experimental and in the early stages. Now let's see. Vlad is asking about Iron Router, if we are going to do that. Maybe. That's, if I remember correctly, that's a ongoing discussion. Right now, we have stopped accepting new packages because we still are in the process of kind of making sure that everything is properly integrated. So that's kind of where we are at this moment. We have packages we maintain. Somehow it works, but we have still a lot of work to do, mainly to unify, say all the different, say, GitHub actions to publish automatically, the same structure, the same coding style and everything, because right now every package is kind of different in that aspect. Some use CoffeeScript, there's some TypeScript some places, and so on. So that's that. Personally, one of the big projects in the future that I'm looking forward to is actually working on the internationalization package. There's right now there are kind of two big ones for Meteor. Both of them are, while the one that's we currently are considering taking over is super outdated. Another one is a bit more recent, but another thing is it's only also for Blaze, or primarily for Blaze, so that needs to be also adjusted. That's another thing kind of for the future with some of the packages we have. Make sure that kind of the core functionality becomes independent of the front end. And that's kind of where we're getting in general towards the future. That's a big question mark because we don't have any, we are a loose organization, so we don't know, there's no, say, plan how to proceed with everything, and it all depends on individual contributors. Uh, it is both a strength and a curse because it allows us to be super flexible, but at the same time, things like receiving donation and funding these efforts are hampered because, and this is what one of companies that was considering sponsoring us told me, is that they cannot support individual contributors like this. And that's also accidentally why Open Collective exists. But then again, the question of money is another big question, and we'll have a talk about this tomorrow. So, make sure not to miss it, because we'll be talking about this issue that we are facing and figuring out a way how to proceed into the future. Lori, yes, top white INTN, or internationalization, is the package I had in mind. There's also Universe INTN, if I remember correctly. So personally, that's one project I want to do, because as you have probably noticed, English is not my first language. I'm from Europe. So internationalization is one of the things that I deal with pretty often. Time zones is another favorite for me to, or maybe more like my manager's favorites. Whenever I ended up in company, usually time zones issues is one of the first issue that I get assigned. So these kind of things are what I'm kind of passionate about, and I would like to really make or remake that package into something that can be used all over Meteor and integrated with the front end. So right now, Tap ITN is Blaze front end. So I would like to kind of get that front end to be in independent packages. So for example, you can then just plug in with React INTL or some other internationalization packages for React front end, and for Blaze still have that option as well, but you just have to add additional package. So quick recap. Meteor community packages is a loose community, no formal organization or leadership, very much individual, but we come together on Slack and on other meetings and forums like Meteor Impact to talk and coordinate. As I mentioned, tomorrow we have a panel where we'll be talking more about the future of how things will develop. First, we'll have a panel about Blaze and its future. Just in advance notice about that. We might need to move it a bit later so we can get more people from the Americas to join in. And after that, sometime we'll have a panel about Meteor community packages how it's right now, and how to move forward. Again, please check our GitHub. That's where all the packages are listed. Also on Atmosphere, we have the organization. So you might be able to change it, and there is just community packages. So now the interesting part, which is question and answers. So right now is the time to post in the chat or into the polls to, what you want to know about. And so yeah, will you be seeking funding from the community? That's a question from Lad. Right now, we are seeking it on a personal level. GitHub sponsors has been, say, really great for developers. So if you actually go right on the conference under join and sponsor, there you will have a list of all the community contributors and that I could find that have GitHub sponsor set up or some other way to sponsor, some open collective for some of the packages I've set it up. I would highly encourage everybody, if you are a developer, to set up GitHub sponsor or sponsor some of the friendly Meteor developers. If your company is using Meteor and some of the community packages, then I would also highly recommend asking maybe the management if they would consider sponsoring some of the developers. And if not, what would be kind of the way that kind of would bring them around to do that? Feel free to reach out to me in regards to that, so we know what people are looking for when they're looking, or if they would consider sponsoring us. Okay. Let's check polls. So yeah, while I wait for other questions, I kind of want to underline the current, say, structure and spontaneity that's been always present in Meteor community packages. That's how we got started. Pretty much it was just few people, specifically me and Kelly Copley, who came together and just decided to do it. And actually it was kind of funny because we started setting up all those things at the same time and together with a few other people. So then we had to kind of merge things together. And the same thing with this conference. It was, as I mentioned in my opening, a lot of talk but no action. And at one point I kind of looked, okay, Hacktoberfest is coming in. It would be nice to have something during Hacktoberfest. And then I just went ahead and did it and asked people to join in. So that's how it currently works. First, it works nice, but at the same time, I personally would like to provide, say, more value to people who are involved, because it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to, for example, do Meteor Impact. So if I can hopefully in the future get some donation maybe from companies and give some financial compensation to people involved, that would be super awesome. And the same thing with development. And we have a question. What's the view of Atmosphere packages versus NPM modules? Is there any plan to migrate off Atmosphere? Yes and no. Right now, our first and primary focus is maintenance and getting things updated, like merging old pull requests that have been waiting there sometimes for years and publishing new versions. There are plans to migrate certain packages to NPM, and we'll be exploring those further, but I think that's more of maybe starting in 2022, because next year is, I think, probably going to be super focused on making sure that we have all the processes established properly. I think we have one npm package, or we'll have soon one npm package to get ready. We have an npm organization set up for that as well. So it's mostly right now setting up all the wiring, and then we'll worry about the next step. It will also depend on what will be the next steps with Meteor in regards to atmosphere and Meteor specific packages. And in the beginning also depend how much tightly is a package tied to Meteor. All right, we still have 5 minutes, so any last minute questions, suggestions? No, so, and let me also check here, that's fine. So let me just quickly, let's see if that works. Yes. So make this full screen for you guys. So this is the sponsor page that we have under join sponsor. And here you have listed all the people that I have found who have some sort of sponsorship set up. If you know about anybody else who's working on Meteor or Meteor related stuff and has a sponsorship, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to add them. And finally, here are some organization and packages that have usually open collective set up for them. All right. So final question from Mike King. There was mention of providing Meteor as a set of npm modules. Is that still a plan? That is a question for Felipe. From how I talk with him about this, it is something that's under consideration for the future. Given the general sentiment, that will be something that probably Meteor will have to go sooner rather than later. But it still is a big topic to discuss, mainly because of historical reasons. And I think the first step will be to remove from the code pretty much any code that is ensuring pretty much compatibility with before version 1.3, or at least version 1 of Meteor. So it will be a long process. There have been at least some attempts to move certain Meteor packages to npm. I think it's for package base 64 or something like that. Don't quote me on that. You can find it if you look through the Meteor pull requests on GitHub. There are some interesting initiatives there, so take a look on that. And I think that will be it for right now. So thank you for your attention. Once again, please consider sponsoring your friendly Meteor developers. The slides will be up shortly. And I'll see you in the next session where I look on, or at least my session, in which I will be looking at the Meteor community survey for this year, which I think is going to be a funny or interesting discussion in regards to what we already have discussed during the conference. So thank you very much, and I'll see you around.